Good evening, everybody. Character King here. It is Monday, January 16th, 2012, and this is video 13. Although I need to do 13 like with this because I have a hand injury here and it makes it hard for me to do the 3 because I broke my hand when I slammed it into a brick wall because they didn't give me fries. I'm just kidding. I don't actually like fries. Anyway, so it's hard to do that, so I gotta do it like this. So anyway, today is all about humor. I have 4 jokes for you. 1, 2, 3, 4 jokes, and they are with relation to ministers, priests, rabbis, or heaven in general. They're not religious jokes per se, but they're sort of in and around the conversation of religion. I would love to hear your jokes, so feel free to share them. Joke number 1. So there is a minister, a priest, and a rabbi, and they find a big bag of money. And they're trying to decide how much to give to charity. So the minister says, we'll draw a big circle on the ground, throw the money way up in the air, whatever lands inside the circle, that's what we'll give to charity. The priest says, no, I've got a better idea. We'll draw a big circle on the ground, throw the money way up in the air, whatever lands outside the circle, that's what we'll give to charity. And the rabbi says, no, I've got an even better idea. We'll throw the money way up in the air, and whatever God wants, He keeps. So, if you thought that was lame, that's fine. Heard a long time ago. Joke number 2. This is a small town, and there are only 2 churches in the whole town. One on the west side and one on the east side. And I heard this from a friend today, a colleague who works with me. So anyway, joke number 2. I heard this one today from a colleague, associate that works with me. So it seems there's a small town, and there's only 2 churches in it. One on the west side and one on the east side. But the ministers for these churches live on the opposite sides of town. So every day when they're going to, every time they go to their church, they pass by each other on their bicycles that they ride to the town. And seems that one day these ministers cross paths, and one of them is not wearing is not driving his bike. So the other minister says, "What happened to your bike?" And the first minister says, "Well, unfortunately, I think one of my parishioners stole my bike." And the minister says, "Oh my goodness, that's horrible." And minister number 1 says, "Yeah, but I don't know how to find out who did it without, pointing fingers. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do." So minister number 2 says, "Well, I have an idea. Why don't you do a preach on the 10 Commandments? And by the time you get to thou shall not steal, I'm sure you'll probably get someone who'll bring the bike back and it'll be over." And the minister says, "That's a really good idea." So minister number 1, they go their separate ways, and a week later they cross paths again, and now they both have their bikes again. And minister number 2 says to minister number 1, "It looks like you got your bike back. It must have worked well." And minister number 1 says, "Yeah, I took your advice, and I went up to the pulpit and started preaching on the 10 Commandments. And then when I got to the commandment on thou shalt not commit adultery, I remember where I left my bike." I probably told it kind of stupidly, but that was a funny joke. I thought it was pretty interesting. All right, joke number 3. Okay, so it's Sunday school, right? And all the little kids are gathered in the room with the Sunday school teacher, and the Sunday school teacher says, "All right, can anyone tell me where Jesus is?" And so all the kids raise their hands, try to get selected, and there's this one little boy in the back who's really excited and waves his hand. But the Sunday school teacher calls on a little girl in the front, and she says, "Okay, can you tell me where Jesus is?" And the little girl says, "Jesus is in our hearts." And the Sunday school teacher says, "That's right, He is in our hearts. Can anyone else tell me where Jesus is?" And all the kids raise their hands again. That little boy in the back who's so excited is kind of waving his hand a little more prominently now. But the Sunday school teacher calls on another little boy in the middle of the class, and she says, "Okay, can you tell me where Jesus is?" And the little boy says, "Yes, Jesus is in heaven with our Father." And the Sunday school teacher says, "That's very good, that's right. Okay, can anyone else tell me where Jesus is?" So everyone's got their hands up, and the little boy in the back is just really waving his hand now, just trying to get her attention. So finally the Sunday school teacher calls on him, and she says, yes, can you tell me where Jesus is? And the little boy says, yes, Jesus is in the bathroom. And the Sunday school teacher looks at him a little puzzled and says, what do you mean he's in the bathroom? The little boy says, because every morning my daddy's pounding on the bathroom door saying, Jesus Christ, will you come out of there? That's joke number 3. I don't know, I thought it was funny and ridiculous. Lastly, joke number 4. And this is the long one. Okay, so we start with Peter and God are talking in God's office. And God says, Peter, what do you think of heaven? And Peter says, well, what can I say, God? It's perfect. And God says, please be candid with me. Tell me what you really think of heaven, truly. And Peter says, well, I mean, it is wonderful, God, and everything, but there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of similarities between a lot of them. There's just not as much distinctiveness as there once used to be. And God says, I agree with you, Peter. That's why we're going to institute a new policy for entrance into heaven starting today. Excuse me. So Peter and God converse for a little bit, and then Peter goes down to the auditorium where all the new arrivals are. And he takes his place on stage and says, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to heaven. We have instituted new policies for entrance, and I will tell them to each of you as you come up to the stage. So Peter goes and sits down and calls number 1 to the stage. And number 1 comes up, it's this older man, and he comes up and he sits down opposite Peter. Peter says, sir, I don't need to hear about your good deeds or your bad deeds. I have that all written down. I just need to hear about your last day, and if it sounds interesting, I'll let you in. And the old man, sort of concerned, says, I don't know if this is good or not. Okay, so I live in Manhattan on the 7th floor of this really nice apartment building, right? And I've been married to this younger woman for a few years. And all my friends at the office kept telling me that she was cheating on me, and that she just wanted to marry me for my money, but I knew she loved me. So like I said, we've been married for a couple of years, and one day, instead of going to lunch with the boys, which was my normal routine, I decided to go home and surprise her. So I go home to the apartment, and I put my key in the door and try and open it, but she's got the chain on the door. And I'm just confused because it's never happened before. So I say, honey, what's going on? Are you all right? Let me in. And my wife says, oh, I didn't know you were coming home for lunch, honey. I'll be right there. I was in the shower. So I'm confused about this, but so I'm like, come on, because she's taking too long. And she finally comes to the door, and she's wearing a bathrobe, but her hair's not wet. So I'm like, oh God, they were right. She's having an affair, and the guy is here right now. So I'm just start steamrolling in when she opens the door, and I'm just going crazy, looking everywhere. I'm looking in the living room, I'm looking in the bathroom, in the shower, and under the bed, in the bedroom closets, everywhere. And I'm like losing my mind, and I'm like, where is he? Where is he? I know you're having an affair. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I just know she's having an affair. So I run everywhere in the room, and I finally get into our dining area where a balcony is, and I look over and I see this pair of hands holding onto the balcony. And I just know I finally caught the bastard. So I rush over and I open the balcony door, and I start stomping on this guy's hands over and over again and saying, die, 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 excuse me, and just die. And he won't let go, and I keep stomping and stomping, and finally his left hand goes free, and then his right hand goes free, and he falls the 7 floors, and he hits the ground. And I'm just in a rage. He's dead. But then I see him open his eyes, and I'm even more angry. So I go over and I grab our large 2-door refrigerator, and I drag it over to the balcony, and I just want him to die. So I drag it over to the balcony, and I just push it off over the balcony, and he falls all the way down and just splats and kills him. And I'm just so frustrated, but in the middle of it I had such a massive heart attack that I dropped dead. And that's how I ended up here. And Peter says, you know, it's a new rule, and I just go on in. And the old man says, oh, really? Thank you so much. So the old man enters heaven. Peter's like, okay. Number two. So number two comes to the stage, and number two is this sort of, you know, early 30s sort of jazzercise type guy wearing sweatband and sort of shorts, tank top. And he's like, hey, how's it going? And Peter says, fine, sir. I don't need to hear about your good deeds or your bad deeds, just your last day on Earth and how you died. And if it sounds interesting, I'll let you in. And the guy says, oh man, I get this out of the park. All right, so here's this. Okay. So I live in Manhattan, right? I live on the 8th floor of this apartment building, and you know, the management hasn't taken care of a lot of stuff that's been going on. It's an old building, and my air conditioner broke down, right? So I had to like open my windows while I was doing my exercising. So I'm doing my exercising. I do my full, hour a day, and my aerobics and everything like that. And right at the end, I'm getting ready to do my cool down, and I start jogging in place. But I've got this huge puddle of sweat that I've built up underneath me, and I slip in it, and I fall out the window, and I'm like, oh God, I'm dead. But I open my eyes, and I'm holding on to the 7th floor of the balcony of the floor below me, right? So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm alive. Then suddenly this crazy ass old man comes out, and he starts pounding on my hands, stomping on my hands, saying, die, 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 die. And I'm like, oh my God. He keeps saying, die, 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 die. And I hold on as long as I can, but finally my left hand goes free, and then my right hand goes free, and I fall 7 floors and hit the pavement. And it hurt. And I'm like, I'm dead. But then I open my eyes, and I'm still alive. And just as I'm looking up to the heavens to thank God for my life, this big ass refrigerator comes down and lands on top of me, and that's how I ended up here. And Peter's like, just go in. Just go on in. And the man's like, oh, jazzercise guy's like, oh, thanks. Hey, you guys got air conditioning and like a weight room in here? And Peter just waves him on in. So Peter is now like, wow, I gotta cut the limit somewhere here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I'm letting everybody in, and then we just started this new rule. So he's like, gotta be better. I gotta be better about this. So Peter calls number 3. And number 3 comes up, and he's sort of this Rico Suave type guy, right? And he sits down in the chair, and he's like, how's it going, man? And Peter's like, sir, listen, I don't need to hear about your good deeds or bad deeds. I've already got that written down. I just need to hear about your last day on Earth and how you died. And if it sounds good, I'll let you in. So the Rico Suave guy looks at it and says, this is pretty interesting. So, picture this. I'm naked in a refrigerator. So those are my 4 jokes. Ridiculous, funny, or stupid. That's just what they are. If you have your own joke, I welcome you to share it with me in a video response or just in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just a kind of a little escape from the day-to-day. Just wanted to have a little fun today. And I'm kind of behind on videos a little bit right now because I've been really busy with work, and it took me a long time to edit one of my last videos, so there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy thumbs, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Have a great night. Remember, laughter is the key of joy, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night!